Capital Investment Committee meeting to order for Thursday, January the 12th. Second item on the agenda, approved minutes of December the 8th, 2011. I'll entertain a motion.
Move.
Proper motion, second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Item 3, consideration of sanitary sewer availability for the proposed King Properties building at 7131 Bakers Bridge Road for 13 SFU. Mr. Parker.
This is the area that we took over, the Moore's Lane Sewerage Company area. It is in Brentwood, so the board does have to approve the availabilities in that area, and we recommend it.
Any questions from Mike?
Are there other properties in that immediate area that are also in Brentwood city limits that we're providing sewage to?
Oh, there's a
Currently, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It ain't likely we're going to annex it in the near future.
Not city of Brentwood.
Any other questions?
I would move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Proper motion is second to recommend to the full board the approval of this item. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 4, consideration of the notice of limitation of use for the City of Franklin property located on North Margin Street. Tax map 63 and parcel 1 is required by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation.
This is where we have installed the trail with the grant monies, and we are required to do this notice of limitation that prevents us from using the property except for open or outdoor recreational uses. It's something we're going to have to do, but we have to get it done before we can ask for reimbursement for the monies in the grant, so we would recommend it. We'll point out that the law department is still reviewing, so unless they have, unless they have final review and approve what we have at the board meeting, it will need to be approved contingent upon their review of the language.
This happened before I got on here. Why was this man willing to sell this property for $10?
He didn't sell it for $10.
Well, all right, look on page.
That's a general way of doing, when you do deeds, warranty deeds, you usually list it as, used to they did it as $1. Now you list it as $10, but it typically costs more than that.
Well, it goes on, there's a $40,000 over in here. Is that the amount that?
I don't remember what we paid for it, to be quite honest with you.
I don't think so.
It was done.
Consideration of
It
$40,000.
was done years ago. I don't remember what it was.
So this April 14th date is, we must have it spent, or?
We have to be reimbursed. We have to submit a reimbursement, so we have to get this approved, recorded against the property, and then we can submit for the reimbursement. So that's the grant deadline.
Okay, so our timeline based on what we're doing tonight is going to fit within that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
It will be on your next.
Yeah, this is money you've essentially already spent. This helps us get the reimbursement
It's
of
been spent. We're just
$100,000.
trying to get the
Yeah.
reimbursement, yes.
There's 175,000. Maybe the next one.
The grant is 100,000 or 175,000?
The grant's 125,000.
Okay. Talks about 100,000 in the memo. Do we need that?
I think
The total project's 125,000, where the
Okay.
grant reimbursable is $100,000. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
For approval.
Second.
Proper motion and a second to recommend to the full board approval of this item. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 5, consideration of resolution 2012-06, resolution rescinding Board of Mayor and Alderman's action to unanimously approve the consideration of request to vacate the alley located south of 1404 Columbia Avenue. Mr. Parker,
This is an alley between Everbright and Downs Boulevard. It is an alley that was, or a portion of the alley was approved to be abandoned by the board back several years ago, 2008. The action was never carried all the way through as far as a resolution or transfer of deed or anything like that. And we have a adjoining property owner that has submitted a plat to divide his property. Plus, we determined also that if we abandon this alley, we would not have public access to several lots that only have access through the alley, public alley, although there's nothing on them right now, but still, we do not recommend that it be abandoned. We have worked with the property owner, or Paul has worked with the property owner as far as this. He's in agreement. I think he's here tonight, or he was to be here. I guess he's not.
He's not here, he was
Can
notified
you
of the
point,
meeting.
can you point this out on the map that's on here?
This is between Battle Avenue and Fairgrounds.
I'm sorry, that is correct. Battle and Fairground, yes, ma'am, I'm
And
sorry.
these are the properties right here. These
The
are-
ones that have the, a little bit bolded around on the map, it doesn't show up real well on this, copies.
Is this the alley right here? Right here?
Yes,
Okay.
East-west
And
alley.
is this the funeral home right here?
yes, ma'am,
This is the funeral home?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a vacant lot.
yes, ma'am. And he's dividing that to 2 lots.
He's dividing into 2 lots, and what he's trying to do is put two new access points out on Columbia Avenue. We think it should go off the alley, and given the lots that have access to right-of-way, that's their sole right-of-way to provide city services, we were looking at that as not being able to abandon that alley at this point.
So we're looking at it from the service standpoint more so than,
The service standpoint's more what I'm looking at.
because that
The 3 lots
that particular lot,
If it's abandoned.
every time it rains, unless, has he filled that in?
I don't know, but there are trees down there right now. You know,
I was
this-
looking at this one right here too, but you got both of these.
That is.
These are the 3 that they're cutting off.
That is an area that there is drainage problems. It's an area that we've looked at in the past as far as doing the Battle Avenue drainage improvements that
awful.
we've been talking about since basically the 70s. But that's some of that is part of that area.
Can you show up on that map so that we could all see? Or is there any way to point it to them?
Well, I thought I could. There it goes. The alley that we're talking about is right here. This is the property that is to be developed. This
Right.
is a property that we would not have access to. Some of these other properties, I have to look back at this. You have some properties in through here that access is there, and you got some more right here that are accessed off that alley.
So
They
will
do
we-
not have, a couple of those have access easements, as you can see. Through off the fairgrounds right there.
Other houses.
But some of the back down here does not have that, and
Are we talking about abandoning the entire alley there?
we're talking about rescinding any
Rescinding
vote to
the abandonment
abandon
of
that
the
it was.
alley.
In early
that was
2008, you,
No, but I thought we just did it right up there where that,
The vote at that time was to abandon, if I'm not mistaken, was just abandon a portion
yeah,
of it
right
right up in
there.
there.
That's all it was.
Yeah,
But I thought we didn't do it because the neighborhood showed up and said they didn't want it.
it was approved to do, but it was never carried through.
But now we don't want to do it.
Now we do not want to do it. And again, we've worked with the property owner, and he's in agreement, and we'll get everything squared away.
We don't do any of the alley.
That is correct. And the resolution is to rescind the vote that was done, taken place by the board. There was not a resolution at that time that we could find. So we're doing it by formal resolution as we should be doing it. And I will tell you also that the law department has, I just got a review back this afternoon. They have some changes that we will do, but it will be presented to you, the changes at the board level. We'll
But
have
it's
the full-
okay to go on and vote.
Yes, ma'am. It's minor changes, it's some, just language changes.
That we recommend rescinding.
But we
Earlier.
only voted a little part of it, right next to this person's property, is that it?
Correct.
That's what I
And
thought.
that's all you would be rescinding is that part, so, but we got to do that to make sure it's all.
So really, it's not cutting anybody off but that particular person and the person across the alley from him?
Well, if you limit some of it, you infringe on the access further down too.
But
I
that,
mean,
but you can get to those others further
can,
down
but
from
not as
Academy,
easily.
right?
It's only a 16-foot right-of-way through there, so it'd be very difficult to service
It's just a very narrow
that
alley.
alley if those parcels were to ever divide. And in the property at 1404, we were abandoning, I guess it was approved where it was,
That's right.
it was looked at as abandoning half of that.
Mhm.
And we're, at this point, now that his plat has expired and no formal resolution was ever passed, we're just trying to clarify that up.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second the motion.
Proper motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 6, consideration of change order number 3, final for the Franklin Corridor and Connector Streets Economic Development Project Segment 1, Columbia Avenue Phase 1 Project, City of Franklin, contract number 2009-0056 for a decrease in the contract amount of $201,484. Mr. Parker up again.
Well, just finally here to close out the project, and we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 7, consideration of change order number 1 for the Jackson Lake Dredging Project, City of Franklin, contract number 2010-0175 for an increase in the contract amount of $186,145 and an additional 82 days.
What this boils down to is, excuse me, when we had the survey to set up the bid, that survey did not give us as accurate a measurement of the sediment that needed to be removed as this, how you pronounce it?
Bathymetric survey.
Bathymetric survey. And we do have the more or better information, and it shows that we need to excavate out about 8,000 more cubic yards based on the unit price per cubic yard. That's what the cost is for. We do have the funds in the stormwater budget for this, and the time delay is to add time to get the additional sediment out, but also we've had some weather delays. And then there's a small amount of money for doing some work on the bridge, additional work on the bridge of the creek there on Dry Branch on the church property. It's like $2,145, I believe, so. But that's, and this, we do recommend approval of this.
Do they always take these dredging products to Murfreesboro? Is that, I read, the location of the waste that they take out of?
Is that where they're taking it?
I don't think, not for this project. I think
Okay.
that's a different memo.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
All
that's a different memo.
What do they do with it?
They're taking it to a location of their choice. It was bid that way.
Yes.
They had to stamp it, and they have to just report it to the state of Tennessee as to where it's going. But that's their choice.
The Murfreesboro was ripping.
Okay.
Yes.
It's coming up.
Any questions? Mike?
Related question. I know in this project, we had to go to a great deal of trouble to get access, to get equipment in to do the dredging, to do the project. As we're looking at new PUDs, are we making considerations for things like access to get into projects so that we don't have as much trouble as we had at Jackson Lake? Are we building that into our approval process?
To my knowledge, yes. But we're also trying to avoid taking on regional detentions as much as possible.
Yeah?
Leave the maintenance back
Two-edged
to.
sword, Mike.
Yes.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion. I'll make the motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
Proper motion to second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 8, consideration of change order number 1 final for the Cool Springs and Carruthers CCTV installation project. City of Franklin, contract number 2010-0107 for a decrease in the contract amount of $1,820.
Again, this is completion of the project, and we have a decrease in the cost with what has been installed, so we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 9, consideration of change order number 3 with W.L. Haley and Company for the Downs Boulevard 12-inch reclaimed water line and west reclaimed water line, ARRA project, City of Franklin contract number 2009-0099, Division A. Mr. Parker, you're up again.
This and the next item go along with each other. This particular item is for the reclaimed water line along Downs Boulevard. This is where we ran into the ribbon situation, and what we're looking at doing is splitting that cost of hauling and disposal between the two projects. So half of it would be at the reclaimed water, and then half of it would be paid under the next item, which is the water. That cost for each would be $8,138.52 increase to both contracts, and we would recommend approval.
Is the money there?
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion and a second. Any comments or questions? I have one. Any chance of recovering this? You know where American Greetings is. It's in Cleveland,
Yeah, no doubt.
Ohio.
Are there more bodies buried?
And you know where Plus Bark is. It's in Greenville, Tennessee. And we know who put the stuff there.
The R project will qualify as part of that change order,
Okay.
but we had to split it up, and the other project was solely a city project, so that will not.
But to go after them, possible, but probably costs more than this.
Why did they dump it over there, Clyde?
Yeah, you were there forever.
I think it's when Clyde was in charge of the dumping.
No, I didn't dump that.
Because it was
But
closer than the landfill, that's all.
Well, it was not only was it closer, but it didn't cost anything to dump it
Right.
there. So you get over on the side of the road and find a hole and dump it in. You didn't have to carry it out to Pinewood Road.
Yeah.
And it was before all the
Well, you
environmental
couldn't-
regulations and stuff.
Yeah, you didn't have all the regulations. And not only was it just ribbon though, but it was drums of other stuff. And it was the equipment that wound the ribbon off of the extruders, just all of it dumped in there. I don't remember being a part of that, thank goodness.
You don't recall.
I don't recall that.
That was common
Selective memory.
practice. That was common practice back then. Back then.
I just wonder if we're gonna run into it again.
There is the possibility we'll run into it in other areas around the city. It's similar to what we ran into down here on North Margin. I mean, that was an old dump. And so there are possibilities we'll run into it. If we don't know about them, it's just something we have to deal with.
We had a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 10. Consideration of change order number 3 with W.L. Haley and Company for the Downs Boulevard 24-inch water line ARRA project, City of Contract number 2009-0099, Division B.
This is the same things we just did, but for the water line project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Number 11, consideration of amendment number 1 to the road impact fee agreement with Boyle Cool Springs 2 joint venture, City of Franklin contract number 2010-0191 for the installation of the signalization at intersection of Carruthers Parkway and Corporate Center Drive with a city contribution of $60,000 toward the installation.
This is the item that I passed out to you before the meeting. I will tell you that the last part of the caption is no longer in effect. That is the $60,000 contribution from the city. We have met with Adam Balish of Boyle and have worked out this agreement where they are going to do the work and pay for it and get offset. So we would be doing, as we looked at it almost a year ago, less money because of what they're getting cost estimates for, but it would be an amendment to the road impact fee agreement, and they would get offsets for this cost that they're going to incur.
And Adam is here if you'd like to have him speak to any of this, but this also is beneficial to them in implementing the turn lane and synchronize this work together with other work they're doing here. So this is beneficial to the city in advancing this project, beneficial to the developer and bringing this work together, but also beneficial to the motoring public out there to provide these improvements. So we would support moving forward with
And
this.
keep in mind, this is at one of the entrances into the conference center.
Yeah, this helps our conference center as well.
Move for approval?
Second.
Proper motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Number 12, consideration of award of TDOT PIN 103487.00 to Stansel Electric Company, Inc. for the construction of the TOC Phase 3 Infrastructure and Upgrades Project, City Contract Number 2011-0151 in an amount not to exceed $368,699.40.
This is, excuse me, this is a project that has been going through the budget, and it is an 80-20 match with the state. And we had a bid, we had to wait on doing any award till we had concurrence from TDOT for the bid. We just received that last week, and recommend approval of this. The city's contribution or obligation for the project will ultimately be, based on this bid, $83,099.40. It's continuing the TOC infrastructure and upgrades, and I believe it has some cameras and fiber.
Cameras
What do
and
you got?
fiber.
4 new cameras and the fiber associated.
So that's all it is cameras and,
The installation, the cameras and the fiber and stuff, yes, ma'am.
where did the fibers go?
It's the connecting, it's the fiber optic cable, it's underground.
You mean like that wiggly line down the street?
No, ma'am, this is in conduit off the side of the street.
It connects to the cameras, basically,
And the signal
and
cabinet.
the signals.
So when you start at City Hall, where will it be?
This is in the Cool Springs area, is it not?
This one goes down
It's
Highway
not
96.
Oh, this
96
is-
out to,
Sticks out to
I'm
Royal
sorry.
Oaks.
Royal Oaks, yeah.
That's right.
So it's not City Hall?
We actually have a fiber now that is strung aerially across Middle Tennessee electric poles. This removes the existing one, puts up a new one that's
Oh,
bigger.
so this is aerial instead of underground, okay, sorry about
We
that.
do one piece of construction over by, between Carruthers and Quail Hollow or between 96 and Quail Hollow on Carruthers, to tie the two projects together.
So if it's all above ground, the project goes pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So how many total clock cameras will be in there?
At the end of that, we'll have 22.
Okay, this says State Route 96 East between City Hall. I assume that's this,
Yes.
and Carruthers.
We currently have a fiber that comes out the back of the building and goes aerial right there at, next to the brownstone, so
Thank you.
no problem.
Y'all have to have more big screens in the dark room.
Get it approved on the budget.
More square footage in the new city hall.
Any questions from anyone? I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Item 13. Review of the Board of Mayor and Alderman's top 10 priorities of the capital investments project. Mr. Parker?
What we, excuse me, what we want to do is just go over the top 10 projects that you have voted on for your prioritization, make sure that we just explain them to whatever extent you need them explained, where you understand what the project is, where it is, et cetera. We will also be presenting to you, as we go through this, phasing options for the two big projects that are in this, that'd be in Carruthers Parkway and, excuse me, and McKenna Drive. So with that, and if you have questions, feel free to go and ask them as we're going through it. And as Mr. Stuckey has sent out our notice and all, we're looking at trying to set up a tour, I guess is the best way to call it, to look at the sites of the CIP projects. And tentatively right now, we're looking at setting that up for the 21st, which is
Yeah, we're going to float that date with you. We hadn't gotten a lot of specific feedback, but we need daylight and we need a good chunk of time. So we were looking at potentially doing it a week from Saturday morning from 8:30 to noon. And it would be just a work session of the board, and we would probably get the Franklin Transit trolley to take us around, have key staff who are working on the projects be there to sort of talk about them. We'll pretty much stay in the bus and see them from that standpoint. We might fold in, as well as the top 10, maybe fold in a couple other key locations like the Southern Sewer Plant potential site, some other things that might be of interest to folks while we're out and about. But that's what we'd like to throw out there. Let us know if that can work for you, if you're interested in attending that session, and if that works for you, so that we can make the arrangements for the 21st, if that's going to work.
What were the hours?
We would suggest at this point, trying to do it pretty early in the day, 8:30 to noon. We don't know if we'll need all that time, but we'd rather block it out and go.
I think you'll need
I tried to do a tour with our leadership team in the fall, and we only got about halfway through. So it wasn't necessarily just capital projects, but it just takes longer than you think sometimes. So we think we can get it done in that time period, though.
May I also suggest the projects that we're currently working on should be put on there too, because we're still going to have to borrow a lot of money to pay for them.
We can definitely include the remaining projects in the funding plan that aren't.
Well, we say 8 o'clock then.
This is Saturday.
I know.
Yeah,
If it's Saturday, why not just let's do it.
Maybe 6 a.m.
I'll be.
Not mine.
We have to start off at infrared.
Does everyone want to do it on Saturday?
If there's another daytime that can work for folks, that's great, but we just need daylight. This time of year, that's tricky.
What day is this you're talking about?
We're talking about Saturday the
Saturday week.
21st, week from this Saturday.
That'll work for me, because, it didn't take away your whole Saturday, noon, you done.
Yeah, we're trying to do it early enough that we don't take your whole day.
Yeah. Who's not here?
I can make Saturday the 21st. My preference would be
Well,
Monday through Friday, but one day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Actually,
Friday.
I'm no longer employed.
If there's a morning or an afternoon that works, we
was
can
always
look
the
at that
way.
too during the week. We lose daylight around 4:15, 4:30, it starts getting a little dark.
How many are you expecting to hopefully go on the 21st?
I mean, people,
A lot of us.
Well, but staff also might.
I would expect
So, dozen, 15?
something like that, yeah.
Okay. I'll just look and see if you can get them all on one of those.
The larger trolley bus can accommodate that.
Make it 21st, but I would quickly, if there's another day.
We'll plan on.
You're
gone? You're gone?
He's come on.
28th?
Mayor.
Talk about Monday through Friday, Mayor. You lead this
Guess we should have asked the mayor
conversation.
before we took that day.
Question.
Oops.
I couldn't do it on the 20th. Back in, let's see, 28.
28th, a week later, could that work?
Do you want to see, try for a day during the week?
Either one
If
want
I know
to?
ahead of time, I can plan my schedule to be available during the week.
Can't do it next
Who
week.
else work besides me?
I can do it during the week.
Well, do you
Because
want me to
I was
have,
always the one that couldn't.
Yeah.
okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Well, do you want us to look at that following week, either that Saturday, the 28th, or one of the days during the week?
Love to.
We can kind of work on surveying you on that, on some options.
Wait, what about a Wednesday morning?
But you have jury duty, right?
You can do it during the week.
Okay.
Not that.
Could you do the Saturday for sure?
Yeah, okay, I'm sure that.
Well, let us turn us loose on figuring out that week or that 28th.
That'll work. I mean,
And-
I'm not gonna not go just because it's on
We'll try to
Saturday.
make it work. Okay.
It would be, there would
But
be
I'm
a better.
perfectly comfortable
It'd
Monday
be a
through
better
Friday
day for me
also.
than the 28th. The 21st would be okay, but the 28th is.
Okay.
All right.
We'll work on that. All right, excuse me, we're going to go through these in the priority order. Number one will be first. Eastern Flank Battlefield improvements, this is it says it was listed on the CIP as other than the access roadway. That is an error, really, it is the roadway.
Nothing
Nothing, basically nothing but, that is true. What we're looking at doing is, of course, building the loop road in its entirety. If you'll notice that we will not be building where we have existing parking, et cetera. That was left out where we could take advantage of what we have already and cut the cost. We will be tying in to the cemetery access, and we'll be cul-de-sacing Carton Lane. That's one of the reasons for getting this set up, is to be able to cut off the traffic out of Carton Lane. We do have to cul-de-sac up in this general area because we have to provide access for, public access for that one residence that's right next to the Carton Mansion. So we are only going to be building initially two rows of the parking, which is pervious materials. We do have in the plans 3 additional rows of parking, and that will be a future thing, or unless the bids come in real good, we might be able to add it to the project on the front end, but we're trying to cut it to make sure that we have enough money to do the access road itself.
Does that roundabout come to the back of Fleming Center?
That is in front of the Fleming Center. That's the reason for the location of that facility. Yes, ma'am. The estimated cost is the $869,000. We do have the $500,000 grant from TDOT Enhancement Grant, and we've already, or you have already allocated the $369,000. We have, we are at the point right now, we have turned loose the consultant to do the design. We'll be trying to get that really kicked off and working. We will be bringing back to, staff will be looking at, we'll be bringing back to various groups at 30% design completion, where we can work out any issues that somebody may have, and then other times too. We do anticipate that we feel we can be ready to have it done and constructed way before the fall 2014. As we've mentioned to you before, TDOT staff has indicated to us that don't expect to be able to get construction authorization till late 2013, possibly 2014. So we're still working on that, but we think we're pretty sure we can be ready as long as we can get through the TDOT process. So.
And who is it that won't be ready?
TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation, has to do with the process you have to go through. However, the former mayor, now commissioner, it has been working toward trying to tighten up that time frame. I met with a former TDOT employee yesterday, I guess, and he said that Mr. Shore has been talking to people and trying to get that process all moved up. So,
And I'd say that was kind of a general time frame warning that they gave all the recipients of this enhancement money, regardless of this project. They sort of made that a blanket statement in terms of timing and drawdown of funds. we've identified, obviously, the urgency and timing related to this funding and completion of this project. And as David said, it's got the commissioner's eye as well. So we're still working through that, but that is still out there.
But we do want to
issue
make
we need to
sure
resolve.
that we keep you informed of where we are and the possibilities.
Yes.
So what were those dates?
Excuse me?
What were the dates?
Well, we're starting the design process. I don't know exact dates, but we feel that we can have the design finished within, I forgot what we told them now, 3 months?
Yeah, it could be done within 3 months.
Something like that. We can be ready to go probably by no later than midsummer. So we're looking at in this year, ready to go for construction, and we have to then just see what we do as far as getting through all the process with TDOT, so.
After it's built, show me how I get to Carrington.
Get to Carrington, you would be coming in this way, and there's the parking for Carrington because that's the entrance into it. To get to, well, you could come on through here, take out access and use the gravel then. That gravel road would still be accessible.
Okay.
But the intent is to get the parking here for Carrington and the Fleming Center, which I guess is really the entrance into Carrington now. So it's to get you there to that point.
And this still includes that loop in front of the Fleming Center, bus parking and bus access?
Yes, yes.
That we left that in place.
Oh, and I forgot to say, the asphalt, it will be River Rock exposed aggregate type asphalt, double bituminous surface treatment probably, but it's exposed aggregate.
One more comment. The timing of this is critical. The Battle of Franklin Trust is hoping to have, with the sesquicentennial, a regional reenactment on the property. So, that would be in November. So it is critical that we get this done because you can't wait until a month before and say, yes, we're going to do this. They have to start advertising the year before.
Well, it's not being blocked off from access.
No, but
Is it, Mike?
no.
I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done.
It just would be hard for the
we're not blocking-
reenactors to crawl over the caterpillars, It loses some.
Shoot at one of them.
Because the last two that the trust did is attracted more than 6,000 people to the city of Franklin, And we need to push this as much as we can, as far as timing is.
Okay. Next project we look at is Priority 2, which is South Carruthers Parkway. The project as designated is this whole route this way at this point. This green part is still left up to the developer to do, and they are working on their final plans to get submitted to the city at this, pretty soon, actually, if my understanding is correct. What we're showing here in the red is, and then in the purple, there are two different phasing aspects of the project. If you turn to the next page of the handout, you'll see how those phases are broken out. Not only are we talking about the phasing of the length of the project, but also phasing the cross-section itself. Talking about building initially the two-lane section, bicycle, pedestrian path, curb and gutters, and all the other appurtenances that go along with it. But also doing the grading for the full four-lane section. The rough grading for the full four-lane, and part of that, and just to make sure everybody understands, one reason we want to do that, it makes it a whole lot easier in the future to add the other two-lane. But in the case we have with South Carruthers, we got two different agreements, one with the Nichols Bend subdivision development, and the other one with the Highlands Lad Park, where we can obtain fill material as we're doing the work, but we need to do it when we're out there doing the first work on either one of the projects. So that's the one other aspect of why we want to do that.
So Highlands is purple, Nichols Bend is red.
Correct. Well, that's the phase that we have, and that's the phase that we discussed actually probably a little over a year ago, and it's broken up that way because the initial thing that came in was Highlands was trying to, Nichols Bend was trying to come through and get done. We'll tell you that what we have, I want to make sure you understand too, what we have included in that red is the connector road over to existing South Carruthers, which is a two-lane road, full two-lane city standard section roadway. I know there has been questions in the past concerning an estimated cost for this portion of work from what we have here, which is $7.6 million, and the developer of Nickel Bend said that he had an estimate from a contractor for $3.5 million. His was a two-lane. We're not sure exactly what was being looked at by the contractor, but it was basically 2 lanes, did not include our understanding, did not include the connector road, did not include all the grading for the 4 lanes, et cetera. And this is, we have spent, or I won't even say we in this case, the engineering department, Paul, Eric Gardner, before he left, et cetera, has spent a lot of time going back, looking at the estimated cost. We've actually had Paul Collins with SEI helping us do that effort also. So we've spent a lot of time trying to tie down what these costs are going to be, because we need to have them as accurate as we can, but we don't want to be underestimating either. So
Wouldn't it have been wonderful if we had done the grading for Matt Hatcher instead of what's going on out there now?
well, it'd been nice if it had built all 4 lanes initially too. Yeah, but that is true.
Instead of just that piece of 4
Yeah.
lane that they have.
But,
Here.
Anyway, that's what it is, and as I said, this first phase that we're looking at would be if you want to call it the Nickel Bend, which makes it easier to designate where it is, that would be $7.6 million. We do not have a final estimate for the full 4-lane section for the full length, just because we knew we weren't going to do that. And the old numbers we had were just not very good. They were not good numbers to try to use. Then the next section is, as you want to call it.
Before we leave it, David.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're just talking 2 lanes, not 4, grading for 4. And we're talking 6,400 linear feet at almost $7.7 million.
Yes.
Tell me again now, so that I understand, if you had the $3.5 million estimate and the $7 million estimate, tell me what this $3.5 million estimate left out.
They left out the pedestrian, the bicycle pedestrian pathway system. I'm not sure if it had.
Curb and gutter?
Should have had curb and gutter on one side at least. I'm not sure. But it also left out all the grading, left out the connector road, and then any extension of the drainage structures through what you're grading for a 4-lane section. Oh, that's right. Did not have lighting.
what?
No light.
Lighting,
No street lights?
street lighting.
I don't see that. Here you go.
Thank you.
That first one does have bike lanes, curbs and gutters, sidewalks.
Our estimate
our
has all
estimate.
that in.
Our estimate has that.
But won't you have to tear that out
No, ma'am.
when you
No,
build
ma'am.
the?
No, ma'am.
One
What
side-
is
one
being
side of the
proposed,
curb
what
and
is
gutter
being
you would-
proposed is that we
one side of the curb and gutter you would-
we would build, thinking of it as the future 4-lane section, we would build the northbound 2 lanes of a 4-lane section. We would build those 2 lanes, and then when you come back to add the other 2 lanes, you're basically skipping over where your median would be and building 2
Okay,
lanes.
all right.
The next one is, like you say, the Highlands Land Park, and it's basically the same section that we were proposing, a 2-lane, only building the 1 bridge. The 4-lane section has 2 different bridges, the northbound and southbound 2-lane bridges, but we would build only the 1. It is less linear feet, but you got this major bridge involved. Plus, with the agreement that we entered into with the developer for getting the right-of-way, et cetera, for that that section, we're required to complete Thurman Road and also the topping of, I guess that road, and there's another, and I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, that's, if you go back to the map, that's this right here. That's what we have committed to do inside the development itself. There's already, portion of that road's already built, but it has to be topped. And then there's a portion right along in there that has to be built yet. So we've agreed to that with the agreement we entered into with the developer back in 2009.
They dedicated all the right-of-way.
They're dedicating all the right-of-way. No offsets for right-of-way, et cetera. And then, as I said, the last part would be the developer right now is committed to do this green part. Now, what we have with the developer is when the development first came in for consideration, we, the city, have agreed with the developer at that point to allow him to build only 2 lanes. However, he wanted to build the 2 lanes with a median between them, and we did agree to allow him to do that. I think he still's wanting to do that, so we'll have a little bit of a section and transitioning that we would have to do at that point, but he's trying to get that median in there for the aesthetic aspects, et cetera, that brings with it. So, but we did agree to that at that point, so I don't think we would want to back up on what we've agreed to in previously.
Don't know of any reason.
So when we finish all of this project, when everything's done, we're intending for the main access to be this light green on through there.
Yes, sir.
Not to go through Ladd Park, right?
Correct, yes, sir. Well, if you'll remember, excuse me, the major thoroughfare plan has an extension of South Crothers down to right along in here with an extension of
Going all the way across.
Paytonsville Road that comes across and ties in over here to Long Lane. So Long Lane is right there. So it would become, I can't keep this thing steady. Old age. As you say, I'm older than Moses, so it's old age.
Though, thanks, really, it's helpful for you to do it, though. I appreciate it.
So that's the major thoroughfare plan. So ultimately, South Crothers will go to that extension of Old Paytonsville or Goose Creek Bypass, whatever it ends up being named, which, remember, I keep wanting to remind everybody, I don't name roads anymore. I've been hung too many times in effigy for that, so I'm not naming roads. But
So you don't like Goose Creek?
it doesn't matter to me what it's called. But anyway, that's the major thoroughfare plan, which instead of using Long Lane as the main entrance to get over there, it would be that extension of the Old Paytonsville or Goose Creek Bypass, whichever one you'd want to call it. So, anything else?
So what are the obstacles to that portion being built?
The obstacle being that the county, excuse me, the county will not commit to building a roadway like that because they anticipate at some point it will be in the city. However, it is not in our urban growth boundary. When we set up the urban growth boundary years ago, those properties, excuse me, south of Long Lane and east of the county property, where the ag center and all is, asked to be omitted from the city's urban growth boundary area, and they were omitted from it. So we don't have the abilities to just go out and do what we may want to do. We have had, I don't know, we've had numerous discussions with Rogers Anderson concerning how we can get this done, but nobody wants to go back and open up the urban growth boundary for revision, because you have to go back through the process that was originally done. Now, it can be, there is a way for it to be added to the city, but I think that takes a referendum of all the properties that would be affected. And I don't guess anybody at this point, I think that's the way it would be done, but I don't think anybody at this point has tried to take that on either. So that's the reason we're kind of in a limbo with that area. I do want to make sure, since it's come up, to point out to everybody, our major thoroughfare plan and the county's major thoroughfare plan are consistent with each other. So they have that same type situation set up, but the county is not, county doesn't go and build roads like we do. Of course. The occasionally they'll do some improvements, but they just don't go build these roads like we do.
Well, that's fairly significant. That road is.
Yes.
And the Goose Creek Extension, or Patesville Road, whichever one we wish to call it, is very significant in that picture right there.
Yes. And that interchange and that portion of Patensville Road right there to the east, all the way over to where Long Lane is now, connected to it, will be improved with the interchange improvement. Anything else on,
I was just going to say, the traffic on there right now, though, is what, 3,000 cars a day, or maybe 6,000?
on South Carruthers?
Yep.
I really couldn't tell you what it
think
is
I
right
looked
now,
at it.
but I guarantee you if we opened this up, it would be a lot more. There is a lot of traffic. I live on Arno Road, and what people use is Arno Road. And it is one solid line, believe me, in the mornings and in the afternoons coming off of 840 coming into town. So, and I live out close to 840. So it is a lot of traffic. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the county's
not.
done a recent
I mean, I've seen,
count on it.
I looked at TDOT's count numbers.
So,
You know,
But flipping the coin just a touch, that area is the next area of growth for Franklin.
Right. I think the traffic is all on the west side now, but, I do
Look
think
what's
too
going to be
quick.
built.
Well, but again, we've got a lot of other places that already have the traffic that we, like Hillsborough Road, we need to get done before we put this money in.
Any other questions or comments?
anything else on South Carruthers? The next one is McEwen Drive. McEwen Drive Phase 4 is from Cool Springs over to Wilson Pike. McEwen Drive east of Wilson Pike to the city's boundary is the purple area right there. We've gone on, and there are two different projects, I guess is one way to say it. After a deposition, I had to go through, I hate to call things projects anymore, but I won't get into explaining that, but anyway. But we wanted, because that has been a lot of discussion concerning these two projects. Again, we have looked at a phasing situation. We are about to open up Phase 3 of McEwen, which brings the traffic as a 4-lane section all the way up to the Cool Springs Boulevard. We're looking at we're proposing as a phasing, a temporary connector from the roundabout over to existing McEwen, which is where you have the majority of the traffic situations on existing McEwen east of Cool Springs Boulevard. It's also some of the more dangerous, at least what we've seen is the more dangerous as far as narrow roadways, et cetera. But we've been able to take care of some of the other issues by guardrails, and York has been able to extend the paving a little bit wider than what it was before. But we're running into problems in that general area. So anyway, we have looked at that as a, temporary connector. That is on the next page, you'll see the breakdown on that. But what we would be looking at there is we're actually going to be building an ultimate McEwen Drive at the roundabout, and then to a certain distance away from the roundabout, then we'll be looking at a transitioning back to existing McEwen Drive. So it's not a 2-lane section, but it's not a full 4-lane section either, but we have to set it up and transition back. And just a second, the estimated cost, as you'll see, for doing what we're looking at there is about $2.5 million. Yes, ma'am.
Just to make it clear, just to make it clear, because Margaret, I saw you going. Put yourself on McEwen at the interstate, going east, okay, going away from downtown. So you're sitting on the interstate, you just got off, and you're going on McEwen east, away from Whole Foods, the other direction, okay? So you're going down there, you get to Carruthers at the stoplight, you go left, you go up to Nissan. If you go right on Crothers, it would take you down by the hospital. Just continue straight on McEwen, and that phase all the way down to where it cuts into Cool Springs and Oxford Glen. That's going to be open up in a couple months. Okay. So the phase 4 is from that spot there on down to Wilson, what David was talking about. Now, the problem we're going to have, and I wish we wish we were able to do this when we were building it, because we're going to have a tremendous issue when this road opens, because all of that new road, 4-lane road, funnels into a roundabout that doesn't continue on. The roundabout, there's the fire station here, the roundabout, if I'm headed east, the roundabout is here. I'm going to funnel in my new McEwen down to this roundabout, and if you want to go around the roundabout and go up to the Marriott on Cool Springs, you're good. If you want to go down and get back onto McEwen to go down to Wilson Pike, you can't go straight ahead. You got to go around the roundabout. You got to go around, you got to go down just a little ways, and you go to a stop sign. And that stop sign is at the old McEwen, and you have to take a left and go on down to Wilson Pike. The issue will be is when you get on that roundabout and you want to take that right to go to the stop sign at the old McEwen and take a left to go on to Wilson. The issue is going to be all this bumper-to-bumper traffic that comes down during rush hour on Cool Springs, funneling into the roundabout, and people trying to get in and funnel. So you literally could have people backed up from that stop sign down there on McEwen, all the way back up, people trying to get off the new McEwen into the roundabout, and people on the left going up towards the Marriott to the fire station, all backed up. So trying to even get on that roundabout is going to be tough. So that's why we were talking about going through that roundabout and extending it and funneling it into McEwen, so you don't have to go take a right, go to the stop sign, and take another right. And that's what or take a left, rather.
It allows the traffic circle to more fully function.
It allows the traffic center, the roundabout, to function, and to move that traffic so we don't have all this problem with it piling back up to the fire station, and then trying, if I'm on the new McEwen, just trying to get into the roundabout. Just trying to get in there and take my right, or to go around and go back up towards Marriott or whatever. So I think it's critical that we take a look at that.
I was going to say, this would be very helpful to look at.
Exactly.
This is the one
But I wanted
right.
to-
You drive it, you'll.
Yeah, that's right,
But
exactly.
I want to explain how that
Exactly.
functions or doesn't function or won't function or will have an issue, you know, when that thing opens.
2.4 million is for that temporary.
Yeah, so that's what they were talking about.
I mean,
But is the temporary going to have any use after it becomes, I mean, we're not just
the
throwing
majority,
money.
the portion that would be building as a full section would be still used.
Okay.
But there will be a throwaway
Expensive
portion
temporary.
of what is being proposed. You can
That
see-
lower half
On
to
that-
the
Yeah,
east.
you see this part of the green right down through
Yeah.
there? That's basically what you're talking about, although that's not an accurate depiction of what it'll end up being. That is generally what it'll be,
Yeah.
and that will be a throwaway section of roadway.
That part,
Are you saying that this
small.
issue can be fixed, that she's talking about?
That's what this temporary connector phase is, to address the issue that Ms. Berger is talking about. We do know that is going to be an issue. It is an offset, and it is a very quick offset, which is, as you drive around downtown, we have offsets, and you see how those become problematic. So it is an effort to as quickly as possible leave that situation and
So
allow
it'll be fixed.
Because
allow
trust
the
me-
roundabout to function as it is designed to function.
Yeah, because trust me, when March rolls around and we open up that 4-lane, it's going to be, hello, every day.
What happens to the existing McEwen Drive? As it looks right here, it's going to remain, and then there's going to be something.
The existing McEwen Drive that comes off of actually Oxford Glen Drive, south of the roundabout, has to stay in place for a length of it, and it gets cul-de-sac. We have to provide
Like Jordan Road did?
access to some of those properties up there, which really will make those properties better because they are residential properties that access off of that, or will be accessing off of that, so they wouldn't have to access off of the extended or widened McEwen portion. But they will be cul-de-sac, yes, kind of like what Jordan Road is at the
But what
at
about the
interstate.
left side? If you're traveling down McEwen going towards the railroad tracks, and you're talking about Oxford Glen, on the left side, people, and I'm going to say names and I shouldn't, I'm learning that.
That's right.
Some of those houses on the left side that have been there forever, is that road going to still be able to make them access their driveway if they're on the left?
On the left side, where are you talking about?
On
Are
existing
you talking
McEwen?
about?
Existing McEwen.
You talking about up in here?
Hold on. Yes,
Yeah.
if I'm, and you know what, we may need to drive it, because I may be looking at the map
Up in
wrong.
there, we are actually,
This is it, right here.
the ultimate plan for
Right here.
access to these properties right in here is we're gonna be building another access roadway off of the, future McEwen that will provide similar situation to what I just talked about.
Okay.
It will be a shared, basically a shared, driveway for those properties, because we don't want individual properties like that accessing our four-lane
Yeah, right off there.
when we're talking about the
Got it.
four-lane
Okay.
situation, so.
And you probably know what I'm talking about without
Created that.
Yeah,
naming
and
names.
we have that
Frontage
situation we
road.
gotta work on out there, so yes.
So.
You'll have a
the
driveway
problem
as a
that you're
frontage
talking about,
road.
It will be a problem for a little while, and then it'll be fixed.
I
So-
don't know what a little while means, though.
Well, it depends on the vote for the funding for the
Yes.
projects.
Yeah.
How does that
And there is going to be an issue with that.
That was helpful, Bill.
It's going to be a pretty big issue,
And
actually.
whenever we go out there,
not gonna
we'll
be-
be able to see a
We'll
lot more
point that out.
about it.
You'll see how that works.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
this is a
That'll be
place that will be very much helped by making the tour.
Thanks, Bill. That was helpful.
You may join us if you like, Alderman Berger.
Now,
I'd be more than glad to have you at that chair right there.
again, and as you're well aware, we have for almost ever talked about just building 2 lanes of McEwen initially in through here. Look at your estimate on that page. You'll notice that 2 lanes is not that much cheaper than 4 lanes.
Yep, true.
However, it is $4 point something million cheaper, and the reason is the grading we
That's
have
right.
to do, going through those hills, et cetera, is tremendous amount, and again, we want to grade to the 4-lane and do the drainage structures, all that sort of stuff for the 4-lane, and then come back later and do the finish up portion, which is paving, curb and gutter, sidewalks, and that sort of
If it's
stuff.
expensive now, think what it will be later.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't need 4 lanes out there for a while, so. I mean, and if you go in and do all that paving, I would say you do the whole thing as a 4-lane, you've got the maintenance of all that pavement that you don't necessarily need to do right away, so.
We have a
I
lot of
mean,
density, and we
yeah.
have the school.
Okay, and then the other part, of course, we're doing, the intersection of Wilson Pike and McEwen is underway right now. As far as design, we are, excuse me, we're working on that. We do have a timeframe we need to meet with the commitment of the funds, to get the funds from the Williamson County School Board. We are getting concerned with that commitment because of our dealings we have to do with CSX for the crossing. We think we can still make it, but I do want to point, and we have talked about it several times, don't get me wrong. We're concerned with it, and we may need to go to the school board and see if there's some way we can take care of that commitment of their funds. We're checking on that right now. I just want to let you know that staff, city staff is checking to see what or if there's something we can do for that.
Well, I would just say that if CSX Railroad is the holdup, that we better be able to, the school board better be willing, because it's not on our part that we're not progressing on this. We're doing everything we can, and we know how our hands get tied with them.
Correct.
But the other thing is that the things that have a timeline, just as we were talking about the trail, over here, things that have a timeline, we have got to do every single thing we can to meet that, because we have lost some things.
Right.
Because we did not,
Right,
we were not
right.
able.
I know, but when it's not, that CSX Railroad is, everybody, the Pope can call and they don't move.
But still,
So,
it needs to be, it needs
I
to
don't know what we
be
can
We- we-
timed. that
We are
we-
staying on top of it as best we can, and we will be.
This is a regular item that Paul and engineering
That's right,
staff are
yes.
Yeah,
in
good
in
luck.
ongoing contact with CSX, and we are looking at preserving all of our options to get this done.
Well, and, the other time consideration is about the road out to Carnton, too. That's another one where there's a time
Yeah.
frame on, and
It is.
they're just gonna have to
We
take
still have
priority
the
as much as we
railroad,
can, as much as we can.
We are.
But by and large, the school board's got their school where they want it.
Right. Then the other thing we talk about is this, the east of Wilson Pike. That is, again, and it has been continuously discussed and is in the agreement with Brentwood that we will only construct initially the 2 lanes. The agreement with Brentwood, as you will recall, we had an amendment to it. It has been approved, it's all signed off on. And what that amendment says is that originally we were supposed to have that built by December of this year.
Yeah.
We weren't going to meet it, that deadline. Now, what the agreement is now, we have to commence construction within 24 months of receiving 1/2 of the expenses or of the costs coming in from the developments in the area. We have one development is starting to talk to us already, so this may be coming sooner than we thought. But anyway, that's generally what that agreement says now. So it's something we can't just ignore, and we got to keep going on. And what we're looking at there and what we have recommended, staff recommendation to you on the prioritization was, we go and get the design done. So that's the reason we were doing that, is because we can't just sit and wait. We need that design sitting, ready to go as soon as it kicks in that we have to start doing something. So that's what we're looking at on that.
How much for a design are we talking about?
It was in the,
I think it's around
2 mil?
300,000, something like that.
What's this 2 mil?
it was in the recommended.
Yeah, I don't have the red sheet. but
I've got-
This is the paper here now.
I've got it.
377,000?
Yeah, 380,000 is what I have.
280,000?
No, 240,000, I'm sorry. We've already spent 388 in previous
Okay.
efforts. 240,000 of design funds.
The other issue with this particular section of roadway, keep in mind, we had to cross the Columbia Gulf gas pipelines. And again, like CSX, they are a difficult entity to deal with. So that's just, I just want to make sure we point out as much as we can. I don't expect you to remember it all, but we will be having a test next
Looking at
month.
it. Yep, we're in that bus.
Any other questions on this on McEwen, or comments, or?
Just to reiterate, we changed the tenor of this whole agreement from an artificial deadline and date to something driven by development and driven by funding.
That's right.
Non-city funding. So we put it in a better position, but we've still got to be able to respond to whatever happens from the development standpoint.
And
So
so-
that's what David's giving you a heads up on, but that's why we think, though, having the design in place puts us in a better position to move forward and understand what complications there might be with the project, so that we can do it in a timely manner and meet our obligations.
And so what is the developer portion of this? How much money are we talking about here?
I don't remember, we'll
That would
have
be
to,
something
the
that
way
we
the
would-
way the original agreement was it would be a prorated share based on area. We don't do impact fees based on that sort of thing, so it would be basically what my understanding would be, and I've talked to Shauna Billingsley about it, it's our understanding that really it would be when we get half of the impact fees that would be due in those developments. Now, remember, some of it is in Brentwood. Also, some of the developments that will be contributing to this will be coming from that we de-annexed and Brentwood annexed north of this. So, but I don't know that I ever really knew what was expected for impact fees, because I'm not sure we've ever had concept plans or anything enough to know what kind of density or the number of lots and things like that would be involved.
So you're saying that their entire part, their entire, the expense that they will bear is just their impact fees?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're gonna get the road built?
Yes, ma'am. That's what impact fees are
I
are
understand that,
for,
but wait, but impact fees generally do not pay for the cost.
That is correct.
And so, in other words, the city of Franklin.
But since we instituted impact, and we'll keep looking at this, don't get me wrong, we haven't given up on that, but it's kind of just, you know, what can we exact, I guess is the word to
That's
use,
right.
from the developments for this thing.
And the wording of the agreement doesn't say impact fees.
No, it doesn't.
Well, see, that's for the reason I'm saying.
Development cost.
Development,
So,
but
of
development
the
cost,
cost
though,
of the
sounds
road.
like development of the road, doesn't
So,
it?
yeah, that's.
Says
that's what the
prorated
stated.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I think there's
That's
a,
something to look at,
Yeah.
isn't it? Okay.
Anything else on McEwen? The next project is the fire station number 8. What we're showing on the map is the location of where that would be in the West Haven development. If you recall, we're looking at architectural design in the first year of $225,000. That is the design to get a standard station design, and basically it would be looking at the design for number 8 and number 7 fire stations. Number 7 being in the Rural Plains, Berry Farms area. But that's what that would be. The $2.8 million is the construction, equipment, and furnishing for fire station number 8. And the CIP, that is divided up into the 2 years after you get the design for. So
But that is
it's
just for, it's designed.
that's just for number 8
But
as far as
Construction
construction.
Right, right.
Construction is just for number,
Right.
the second, the 2.8 is just for number 8 fire station. And if there's to be anything beyond our standard of what we come up with on our standard design, anything beyond that as far as aesthetics, veneers, or anything special, it has to be paid for by the development that is requesting that to be done.
Okay, got a question for you on that one. Number 1, when you say the equipment, that certainly doesn't include fire trucks, does it?
This is what the fire department put together as far as the CIP, so I assume it
I was
does.
expecting that to be a
does.
whole lot more than that. The other thing is, has Southern Land indicated that they are wanting a different aesthetic on the facade of the building, that they're willing to pay for?
Have they indicated
Yeah.
it? They did initially. I don't know what the feeling is at this point, but initially, several years ago, we were talking with them as far as how to do the agreements that would affect that. And in fact, it even got down to additional landscaping at that time that they were talking about, so.
Well, we're not to a point that we need to communicate with them, are we, on this yet?
Not
We
not
don't
until we
have
do,
design.
not until we get some design, some
gotta do
some
the
portion of the design has to be complete before we can really talk to them and intelligently know what it is they want. Because what we're looking at is a basic design, and it's not just going to be concrete block, of course. We're looking at a brick design, brick veneer design.
Do we have a?
So-
do we have a
It's just that we're not going to do, we're just not going to do Avalon
No,
again
you-
when we
yeah,
pay for
right,
it.
right.
And
That's the story.
then what they would be paying for is a change in some of that
But we're just
stuff.
not going to do Avalon again without them paying for it instead of us.
Yes.
I
The
thought
rock work,
it had been
the
paid
clock
for.
tower, the rock work, the false wall out at the Avalon one, that is what we'd be looking at,
That type
that
of
the
thing.
developer would be paying for.
Let's go on to my favorite one.
Yeah.
The next one is
Martin Road.
Century Court, Beasley Drive. We will go out here too, where you can see this, of course.
And this is so
Margaret will
easy.
be on her bulldozer.
Martin Street.
Yeah.
But, well, that's a good name.
Yeah, we're thinking of that Martin Road.
We have all but
Margaret
one
Lane.
of the right-of-ways. We have not got a condemnation resolution for that right-of-way yet. Of course, that's not been carried forward because we're waiting on the funding, et cetera. And it is a estimated cost of the almost 625,000
Why can't
left.
we do that one like yesterday?
Yes, 624.
Because you
I know.
haven't
I know.
authorized me to spend any money.
Whenever you want to do something, then you have to say you're not going to do something else. That's the
Right,
story.
wait for,
Exactly.
get to decision
I
points.
think
On this one,
important.
have
way
we
to
done
go
a traffic
first.
study to see how much this will improve?
Yes, it's
better
bad. It's
improve.
bad.
I know it's bad on
Really.
Columbia, but I just,
Better improve it.
No, that's the problem,
It
trying to
gets
get
you
off
access to
Columbia.
get you access
It's not-
to Columbia.
It's not so much as volume of traffic that we're trying to address, it's the safety. We're trying to make it safer access to the Beasley Drive area. So that it's not so much as actually
Or out
volume.
of
but
it.
this,
And out.
Out of it mainly,
To get to
yes.
the signal.
That's right.
but this
Trust me, I'm gonna
will
use it.
not help semis. You don't have a turning radius for this.
Do you not?
So the semis still have to go out to Columbia.
It'll be wide enough semis can do it. They may have to wait for a vehicle to pull out and go over into the next lane,
That's
but
not what Eric told us when we
I'll
talked
just
about
make it
this
a little
before.
bit wider. I'll just make it a little
Yeah,
wider.
when you're
When
out
you're out
there.
there.
But now we do not have the right of way for this?
we have all but one.
All but one.
We have all but one. And a good, quite a bit of the cost that's left to be done is a relocation, AT&T, I think. AT&T relocation.
This next one's yours.
Okay, the next project is the Carlisle Lane, Board Mill Avenue, 96 signalization project. I think probably everybody's pretty aware of what that project is, but it's estimated at 2.25 approximately. And it will signalize that intersection. It will also align the intersection to where it's a safe intersection. Any questions on that? The next project is the Consolidated Public Works Facility and Access Roadway. As you're well aware, we have purchased the property at
3.4 million.
2.34 million. Excuse me, the cost of the access road is estimated at 800,000. And of course, the 4.4 is property acquisition and construction. So you take out the 2.34 and that's what we have, would be left for looking at improvements of the properties, the buildings, et cetera. You will be looking at the PSA, the Professional Services Agreement, at your next board meeting for the firm to start the architectural and engineering work for that conversion, so.
So it's $2 million to move into it?
Approximately. 2.5.
But in
Well,
fact-
with
the buildings, you still got the road at 800.
Yeah, the road at
the road's
800,000
800.
is part of that.
The acquisition is 4.45, but 2.4 of that
You spent
was the purchase of
Yes.
the property itself. So it's $2 million.
Somewhere right just over
right
2
around 2.
million.
Yep, that's correct.
My comment would be, in fact, we have moved this to the top of the list.
You've
Because
already
we've
committed to
already-
this project,
that's right.
really.
Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
You know,
More or less.
Because the opportunity at
exactly.
cost came to us and we
Well, that's
acted.
your sign.
We did put a sign up, yes.
It's really pretty.
I didn't want 84 to try to sell it again.
I noticed it was up in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a lot more money, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
And it's good we're not wasting electricity on the lights anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there anything else on that?
So
No, but
two
truly,
ways to access
this
the
is number
property.
one.
It's really,
And-
it's a
and-
committed project
It
at
is
this point.
committed
Yes, ma'am.
project, so after the ones that
The
are
access to the
committed,
property
this
can
is the
still be
next.
through the existing access, but we're doing this access here, and that will be signalized. And that will be basically for the majority of the access other than car traffic will be up through here.
It's not a signal at Beasley.
No, ma'am.
It won't
There's
be.
a signal right here,
Yeah.
there's never going to be a signal there.
Okay.
And there will be a signal here.
So that's gonna be considered a drive or a road. Would that have
Access
a
road.
name, that new,
This right here is called lumber,
no, the next one, the new one we've been.
this,
Is that just-
no, it's just an access.
Bransford Boulevard.
That's what I was wondering.
Okay, we call it,
Pearl Lane.
but that, it is actually a shared access with us and Lasco and what they end up doing, so, yes.
explain Lasco's involvement in this just for a minute.
Okay, Lasco's involvement, of course, we've worked with them to get the easements and all for this access roadway. They are actually going to construct that portion right there.
Okay.
So they'll be constructing that, and they're constructing it to our requirements, if I'm not mistaken. This right here where it comes off, just that part right there, that is, Lasco will be constructing that. A lot of this is over existing asphalt, but we're responsible for the construction of all that. We've got to add, as part of the agreement, we got to add 22, 23 parking spots because we're taking them out. There will be some median, planter type medians along this section of roadway, and we are fixing the drainage that comes down through here. So we're going to take care of that drainage as a part of this also. And also, we will be fencing, see, we're fencing right here. That part of it will be fenced. Where we're going to divide the soccer fields, we'll be fencing, putting fence there.
But signal is ours. Signal
is ours, and we have an agreement that the property over here, that development over there is going to be paying 100,000
or so.
Of the 800,000?
Something like that.
Of the signal.
Just the signal itself.
Will we do construction for that intersection on the west side of Columbia when we do this?
No.
So there won't be
We will not, the only construction on the west side when we do our project will be putting up signal poles and the wiring or whatever is required for that. That's it.
There'll be no road bed in?
No.
For anything?
That'll be up to that development. We'll look at it. Right here, there is a huge drainage ditch right there that's right next to the road that we don't even want to have to mess with.
There's also a historic stone wall.
There is a stone wall.
There is a historic stone wall there. Warning.
Go out and find them.
Oh, you can see it. I go right by.
Anything else on there?
There's what you'll find out.
The next, I'm sorry.
Before you, when I used to go out to the little restaurant out there, that stone wall wasn't there. So it can't be over 45 years old. That doesn't make it historic, does it? If it's not over 45 years old.
So you were just babe when you was over
Williamson
there?
County Historian.
It was there. You just didn't see it.
Oh, Margaret, that stone wall wasn't there.
You couldn't sit on the steering wheel, that's what it was.
That was the old Holiday Restaurant.
That's the old Holiday
Yeah,
Restaurant.
I couldn't think of the name of it.
Oh, yeah. The only restaurant in town.
Next project is the Clovercroft Road at Wilson Pike intersection. This project was something that was done, required of the school board. They have done the project. It's not finally completed and et cetera, but it's far enough along to say it's a completed project. No money from us at this time. The next project is the Columbia Avenue improvements from Downs Boulevard to Mac Hatcher. I think that's pretty self-explanatory of where the limits of it are. You'll look at the description of the project. It will be a four-lane project. It is going to have a raised grassy median from Confederate Drive, right here, down to Southeast Parkway, which is right here. So this part right here will be four-lane median. There will be no median north of Confederate or south of Southeast Parkway. It's basically going to end up being a 5-lane section there. So, and then we'll have sidewalks on the west side from Downs Boulevard, again, which is right here, down to Confederate. We'll have sidewalks on the west side, and we'll have sidewalks on the east side from Carr down to Confederate. And then sidewalks on both sides from Confederate to Mac Hatcher. And bike lanes will only be provided from Alpha Drive, which is, hold on a second. Alpha Drive is right here to Mac Hatcher. So from right here, from right here down to Mac Hatcher will be bike lanes.
And so when was all this decided? Obviously,
This was done through well, it started out as an advanced planning report that the city was having done, and when TDOT changed their terminology, it went to
Transportation planning report.
Transportation planning report. It has been approved by TDOT. We paid for the report.
I mean, what year?
Oh,
What year is
we, let's see.
Many years ago.
We started it many years ago. It got finally approved only about 3 or 4 years ago.
Or 5,
So
More than
where
3.
is this on the,
let's see.
on TDEC's year of?
It is actually being pushed up, and they're trying, and we're looking at, we have a proposal that they're wanting to look at us, or that we need to maybe look at as far as city's contribution of what would be for that. And Paul and I have been discussing it. We're just not ready yet to present it to you. But it is a change in the MPO tip process that is going forward. We didn't think we needed to have any formal action to ask for that change, but it is being pushed up to be completed by 2015, which it won't be. But I mean, that's their cutoff date for projects. They have the 2015 and 2018 or something, 20 something, I forgot what it is. But anyway, they have cutoff dates for short-term, mid-term, long-term type stuff. So, but this is being reevaluated, and we should know about that probably by the end of the fiscal year.
Well, would we consider reevaluating the plan for it? Because we have cut back on some other things that,
If you want to reevaluate the plan for it, you go back through the TPR process, and it did take us a very, very long time to do that.
but that was back when we thought we were going to spend $100 million on,
The TPR is not based on cost, it is based on what
understand that.
traffic situations and what you need, and what we, as the city of Franklin, were desiring as far as
Exactly.
access control. Not
Exactly.
cost, it's access control, and that's the only reason we have the median in there. If it's left strictly up to TDOT, it would be a 5-lane section all the way. We have got the median in there for the access control, and of course, with the median, we can have better aesthetics, plus it is safer than a 5-lane.
So what's the funding breakout likely to be of this 21 million?
It would be a 80-20 if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, 80/20.
But one of the things that we discussed on this at one time was with the median, you blocked any left turn into Beasley Drive northbound.
Correct, and that's another reason for the connector road that we're talking about. But it is an access control. That's the reason, one of the main reasons for the median. And of course, that's one of the things that makes it safer, because you do have that access control.
but there are a lot of kind of,
There's a lot going on.
80 state fed and 20 local.
but you also have a lot of, a number of lots there that are relatively shallow, and so, you know, it does kind of prevent them from, prevent.
And that is another,
Yeah,
again,
I know.
a reason that we went back several years ago and developed a local road plan for that area that put local roads kind of paralleling Columbia Avenue both to the east and west, which has not been followed, so.
Well, and would be very difficult to do, considering who some of the landowners are out there, and that the railroad is on the other side of it too.
Do y'all remember if is there a traffic signal at Confederate Drive on this plan?
The traffic signal we're putting in is one, and I believe the other one is Confederate Drive.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I
Yeah,
think
I
it is
think you're
Confederate Drive. Yes, it is Confederate Drive, because that's the other access into that
Because that's a loop
whole
road on the other
development
side.
on that
Back
west
where the
side.
county building is.
Yeah.
Well, the Confederate Drive is not, where's the county building?
It's at the end of, it's to the west.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's at the-
to the-
You see
Not
that,
the
you
existing.
see that road across from Confederate Drive?
yeah.
It's back in this property back behind all that, and their access is coming through their property off of
Got
Dallas
it.
Boulevard. I don't know if they can access that road or not, I don't think so. Any other questions?
The Central Court dead ends.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That'd be background.
And the next project and the last, is priority number 10, is the park at Harlansdale Farm improvements. There's the renovation right now is divided up into 2 phases. The first phase being the stabilization, foundation system, structural framing, stabilization of the interior, new roofing, siding repairs, painting, and window replacements. The estimated cost for that phase is $245,000.
Is this just the barn, not the house?
This is the barn.
And we're looking to fund this through the hotel motel tax.
Hotel motel tax.
Fund.
Are we even considering the house?
There is discussions going on, and
We're taking the initial steps in terms of protecting it, letting it not degrade further, but there's additional review in terms of other improvements beyond that. So right now, we're doing the preservation, immediate preservation step, and then we'll look at future phases from there. And also other partnerships. There's some other interests of folks who may want
So you're
to
not
work on
just-
that.
You're not just eliminating that from your
not ignoring it.
vision,
No,
We're just
no.
moving.
trying to take the pieces as we can and move it forward.
Is there any other questions, comments, or whatever
About that?
about anything, I guess?
Well,
Well, I guess
have
that's the
some
chairman to say, though.
About,
Well, are there any other questions on the top 10 priorities?
You know, my comment that we really have moved up the city facilities building, I think it is the next priority. I mean, it was not our next priority, but it is, because we've already spent money for it, and we're going to go ahead, we have to go ahead and spend some other.
And when we did the funding scenarios, that was one of our given projects. The Loop Road and the consolidated public works facilities were looked at as given projects because of how committed we are at this point in terms of purchase of the property there and the agreements that we're moving forward with TDOT on the Loop Road.
All right, so item 13 closes. Does anyone want to cherry pick anything out of 14, 15, or 16?
I do.
Go right ahead.
15. A, the west reclaimed water line, Downs Boulevard reclaimed water line. What is happening with this reclaimed water right now?
What is happening? Well, we do have customers on our reclaimed water system. This line allows us to push the system onto the southwest areas of the city. And basically what this was, as we were doing projects, we're trying to get out there, get the loops around the city. It does go through Jim Warren Park, so we could tap it for use in Jim Warren Park. At any time, once it's finally accepted, the work is finally accepted, so.
Where does it stay until it's used?
It's discharged to the river.
Oh, it goes to the river?
The reclaimed water is effluent out of the wastewater treatment plant. If we can get it out into the reclaimed water system and be used by customers, then that's what we do. But otherwise, if we're not pumping it out into the system for that, it is discharged directly to the river as our effluent discharge permit allows.
Mark, do you want to add anything?
No,
Okay.
just here just in case. Any specific
So
questions?
ultimately, let's say Berry Farms wants to use reclaimed water. Will this be part of the way that we'll get it to them, or?
Their farms will be using reclaimed water. They are required to, but we also have a reclaimed water line that was put in as a part of the Harpeth River Interceptor upgrade and the 5 Mile Creek Interceptor extension. So we have the reclaimed water line down to Berry's farm now.
Okay, so that comes along that sewer.
Yes. And that is the routing also that was mentioned the other day as far as the fiber cabling or communication cabling also. It's in the same easement.
So on this line, what will be the next step on extending this, and where will it go to? Does it go to a holding tank? Or
We would probably, and I guess we haven't formalized plans, but should we get the Columbia Avenue widening project done, we would be looking at probably bringing a effluent line down that routing to get it down to Mac Hatcher, at least as part of that, as part of what that project is being done.
And could you?
If I'm, Bo, is that is our routing plan, is Columbia Avenue connects to an existing line, it's an old sewage force main, you convert it to a reclaim line.
It
goes through
southeast.
Right, it completes that.
Right.
You'd make a loop.
Can they use it in Sullivan Farm?
They want to use it in Sullivan.
So what's keeping them from it?
It ain't there.
There it is.
Oh, it's not?
It's not there.
They'll have to redo that old sewer line or something.
The work to the sewer line's been finished. We need to bring it into service as part of it, and also we're working on a standard form of agreement as well. And the Downs Boulevard line, that actually needs to be accepted by the city once the project's been completed, and we're very close on that.
That is what, one of the change orders you
Right.
approved to take to the board tonight.
Okay, so that, if we do that median in the Columbia Avenue, then that water could be used to
Yes, ma'am.
irrigate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to use as much of that as we can. I hate to waste it by putting it back in the river.
We do too. We'd like to take it all out, but we can't even do that.
Well, since that's about the only water in the river, it might not be too big of a waste.
There is a problem there.
Oh, we could take it to the reservoir.
Could. Should.
Back in.
Anything else?
Margaret's rain barrel, if you go.
What?
It could go in your rain barrel too.
It couldn't go in my rain barrel.
Any other items on any of the other projects that anyone wishes to pick off and have Dave discuss? If not,
okay, I have a
Ann,
question.
go.
The next one down on the list is the Mac Hatcher Parkway widening southeast quadrant. And so where is that in terms of, I guess, tip or whatever?
That has been considered to be a total TDOT project. Just for a little history on it, we did have funding approved for it back before we started through the MPO process. Back before we started the context-sensitive solution efforts for the entire Mac Hatcher Parkway. So it's that long ago we had funding, but then TDOT pulled the funding when they decided to do the context-sensitive solution for all of Mac Hatcher. So the funding was not carried forward, and it was basically, I guess you
They
would say,
split the
like,
project.
the funding I'm talking about would be preliminary engineering funding was approved at that time, not all the
I
funding.
can remember talking to Jay Johnson about this, and he said, it's not even on our list.
It is in the MPO listing. It has been on the MPO listing.
It was not back, I don't know what year you're talking about.
That would have been eight or 9 years.
Well,
That's probably, well, it was on the listing back 10, 12 years ago. But about 8 or 9 years ago, we did have approval for the preliminary engineering through the MPO and TDOT. It was going to be a TDOT project
Sure.
at that point too, but then they pulled it off when they was looking at the context-sensitive design because they wanted the entire loop of Mac Hatcher under that context-sensitive design. So they pulled that's when they pulled the funding for the design of what's is under construction now even. And then they went back later and added that. And since that time, of course, you and me and others have been saying we need that other very bad, but we haven't been able to get it done.
That's the biggest traffic count
But,
right now. And that's where, and I don't care, I'm sorry, what our traffic you know, consultants have said, I'm going to start going out to 96 and Mac Hatcher every afternoon about 4 or 5 o'clock and see the traffic backed up all the way to the intersection.
It's from Royal Oaks.
Every
Oh,
day,
yeah.
every day. And if you remember, I believe they said that was a level of service B there at the intersection. I don't
There are
think
no
so.
cars there at 2 in the morning, so. Well, I just wondered, for the MPO, would it have, see, we don't even have a design for this. You know, all these other projects, for instance, the northeast quadrant, now that the state started construction on, so we're already in the construction phase, and there's not even design for that southeast quadrant.
No,
So-
and again, right now, it's dependent on TDOT to do. And TDOT, the part that just went under construction, the northeast quadrant there was completely, it was designed by, no, I guess that was Sane. Sane did the design, but it was a TDOT project, and they contracted with Sane to do the design.
Well,
But
is there something we can do to move this along at least to get to
With
the
the
design
MPO,
process?
even.
With the MPO,
Right.
since we're on.
I don't remember where it is on the MPO's listing now. I was thinking that we had gotten it moved up
We did-
to a
we
whole lot
did,
more
push it.
recent.
Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head, but we
I'd
pushed
just
it
like to
up.
hear about that.
Yeah, we have pushed it up, but we
Yeah,
can give you
we'll
the
check on that,
specifics.
but I don't remember. We have pushed it, we have tried to get it going.
Because without design, gosh, we're still 7+ years out with something like this.
Anything else? One thing I did want to bring up, on McEwen Phase 3, we will be coming to you at the next work session with the possibility of a temporary opening. It cost us money, so we'll be presenting that to you at the next board work session as an option to temporarily open what we have out there, so.
What do you mean it will cost us money?
We have to do some extra work, or it's not a part of the contract bid to be able to temporarily open it.
You'd open it early, a portion of it early, you'd be able to use some of it early, but you then have to work around it when you do the final paving.
So
there's some give and take there.
But I just wanted to
That would
mention
be-
that we'll be bringing
That
it
would be worth
to,
doing though, wouldn't it? That would definitely be worth doing though, wouldn't it?
depends on the amount that it ends up
Oh,
being.
okay. I see what you mean. What the price
around
is, what the
$23.
price is on it.
So you're gonna let us know about the 28th?
We will, yeah, we'll do a little more homework on date possibilities, and we will get with you. We have one complication, it sounds like, so I would count on the 28th right now.
You would not?
I would, because it sounds like
The 21st,
we have,
he isn't gonna be.
well, 21st, the mayor's not going to be here, and then Bev is on jury duty, on call for jury duty, so I think.
Saturday?
No. Through the rest of the week. That's why Saturday is likely. That's what I'm saying. So we were trying to look at a weekday option, and I'm just not sure that'll work because of that issue.
Weekdays are not good for me this month.
Okay.
Weekdays are good for me this month.
And next month.
Why didn't you do on a weekday what you were gonna do on the Saturday? Are we still on?
Yes, you are.
Yes,
We could
we
just have
are.
Dave and Paul drive you guys around individually for a while.
Well, that's the reason I was asking, do we want to split it up? I mean, it makes it, if there's, I don't care. I can make the 28th. I've made my preference known. I prefer
If we can
Monday
make a
through
weekday
Friday.
work, we'll do it, but I'm just from what I'm hearing, that may be a
And
problem.
basically carry it a little further, if everybody can't make it at one particular day, we can do individual drive-arounds during the weekday or something. We can arrange and get that done.
But you know
That
what,
should
it's
not.
better to.
But the problem is, you don't have, you
I'd like to
don't
have you see it
hear, you don't hear the others' input
Yeah.
and questions and all. I mean, we can do
If
that.
that's the case, I'm definitely available Monday through Friday.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we can adjourn and discuss the field trip schedule after adjournment.
The chairman will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Yeah, that's right.
It is over.